It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out, and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
And we are all the way live right here, WHPR 160 Victor Street. And thank all of you so much for tuning in this wonderful Monday. It is so comfortable outside. You're tuned in to Feedback, a positive image production by Hood Research. My name is Theo Broughton, co-founder of Hood Research, and my co-host,
The BD, and we welcome you to the program.
And I want to thank all of you who helped to sponsor this program. And for those of you who are considering the sponsorship, please make your check or money order out to Hood Research. Or if you prefer, you can make it out to WHPR Broadcasting Company. We have no objection to that. But we ask that you mail it to Hood Research so that we can make sure it gets credited for this program. The address is Hood Research, P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan, 48204. Again, that's Hood Research at P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan, 48204. I want to say good morning to so many of you, and good morning to Rosa, and to Barbara, and Vera and Barbara, to Sam, and to Ron and Tom. And this past Saturday, we had such a fantastic time at the Hood Research meeting, and we celebrated Father's Day. And there is a guest that I have with me this morning who is kind enough to read something that needs to be read. And then we will continue with the rest of the show. Gary.
Thank you, Theo.
Directly into the mic.
Well, at the Hood Research meeting, certificates were given
Speak up.
in honor of Father's Day. And we have one here for Tabidi, who was not able to attend, but we wanted to make sure that he received his certificate of recognition today. And it says it is an acknowledgement of the great work that you do as co-host to Feedback, as a positive image production of Hood Research. It is with great pride that we honor and celebrate you. You are a tireless advocate for your community, and for that we are grateful. We join with your family and friends in wishing you a very happy Father's Day. Let it be known on this 9th day of June, 2018, we, Hood Research, salute you for your service and dedication. May God continue to strengthen and bless you in all of your future endeavors. So this was waiting for you on Saturday, and I'll have to give that to you.
I am grateful. I am humbled. I'm very shy about this, but I do appreciate it, and I just enjoy what I'm doing. So it makes what I do very easy, and I look forward to the years to come.
You certainly deserve recognition.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was sorry that you had to work on Saturday, but it was really great. We had a wonderful time, and our guest this morning is Gary Warnchak, chairperson of the Wayne County Commission, and he was kind enough to provide baseball tickets with parking pass. And I want you to know that our lifetime member Sam Black won those tickets too. He was excited about that. So on Saturday we had prizes and refreshments, and we had some candidates who came through, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And we had a gentleman by the name of Orlin Jones who was there with us as well, and he did a presentation on Conant Gardens. For any of you who lived in Coney Gardens, or do now, did then, or have relatives there, it was a very informative presentation that he gave. And I was surprised to learn that Jesse Owens lived in Coney Gardens. I never even knew he was in Detroit, let alone Coney Gardens. But I'm sure most of you know who Jesse Owens was. But my co-host, yes.
I'm
You
all
have something to
ears.
say? Yes.
All ears.
You have something to say this morning before we introduce our guest.
Well, I want to say shout outs to Smith Bay. I got a chance to see him. He works midnights, but he's dedicated to watching feedback. He says sometimes he might nod and fall asleep, but Brother Smith Bay, Brother Shane, Sister Jackie, Ruth Ann, Sheila Ragland, Cheryl D., Frida Washington, and again, always ask that you have friends, family, neighbors, co-workers tune in and have pen and paper handy for valuable information you may want to record.
Absolutely. Lori was at our meeting on a Saturday, and Sylvia and Keith was there. He was all excited as well. We had a very good time. But now I want to introduce the guest who's with us this morning, Gary Warnchak, who is the chairperson of the Wayne County Commission. So if you have any questions about that, you feel free to call in. The number's up there, right? 868-4336. And Gary Warnchak, tell us, who is Gary Warnchak?
Well, I will tell you, but first I want to tell you that I really enjoyed the Hood Research meeting on Saturday, and particularly the presentation that Mr. Jones gave about Conant Gardens.
Yeah.
And by the strictest of coincidences, he attended Pershing High School right around the time that my father did.
Oh.
So afterward, I was able to talk with him a little bit about the neighborhood. When I was born, we lived around 7 in DeQuinder on St. Aubin, and not far from Conant Gardens. So I enjoyed not only the presentation but talking with Mr. Jones afterward.
Yeah.
It was, and those are the sort of things that that I'm sure inspire people to come to your meetings, because in the meetings I've attended, it's always been informative. People get to speak their minds. People don't hold back. Nobody holds back at the research meeting. Right. I've seen I've seen that people are there for serious business.
Oh, yes.
So it's been my pleasure to join you. I am Gary Warnchak, the chair of the Wayne County Commission. I started off my career in newspapers. I was the editor of the Dearborn Press and Guide for about 20 years, which included some editions that we published in the Vernon Springwells area and also in the Warrendale neighborhood. So we had a presence there for a period of time. And then after I was in newspapers for a while, I was recruited to run for state representative, and I became a state representative. Served for 6 years, and then I ran for and was elected to the Wayne County Commission. That was in 2004 when I was elected to the Wayne County Commission. So I've been a commissioner for 14 years. But in 2011, my colleagues on the Wayne County Commission honored me by electing me chair of the commission. The commission selects its own chair. It's not a rotating position, or it's not a flip of a coin, but you have to earn the trust and respect of your colleagues in order to become chair of the commission. And I've been reelected now in my 4th term as chair, with Alicia Bell as a wonderful vice chair, and Jewel Ware as the vice chair pro tem. So we make up the leadership team for the Wayne County Commission. Yes.
There are how many commissioners?
There are 15 Wayne County commissioners. We're all in districts around the same size, and that's roughly 130,000 people.
Per commissioner.
Yes, for a commissioner. And the Wayne County Commission, and people often don't know what Wayne County government does. So I actually, drawing on my experience as a journalist, I created a booklet that all commissioners have available called A Citizen's Guide to Wayne County Government. So if you're curious about how Wayne County government works, how it's structured, the services that's provided, plus a lot of phone numbers of the elected officials. Whoever your county commissioner is would be able to provide that for you, because we provide them with a supply at the beginning of each term. Wayne County Commission is the legislative branch of Wayne County government. A lot of people don't realize that the 83 counties in the state of Michigan, most of them are administered and run entirely by their board of commissioners. But the larger counties have found that it is hopefully more efficient to have a county executive form of government. And there are only 2 charter counties in Wayne. We were the first in Wayne County back in the early 80s. That's when there were 27 Wayne County commissioners on the Wayne County Board of Commissioners at the time, and they would run everything. Well, the people of Wayne County decided that they would like to have one central administrator running the county's affairs. So county executives, the county executive position was created by ballot as we adopted a charter, and the Wayne County Commission became the legislative branch of Wayne County government.
Was that when Bill Lucas was elected?
Correct. He was the very first Wayne County executive. He had been
Right,
sheriff at the time, and that was
Right.
around 1982,
Yes.
thereabouts. And
I
he ran for
remember
governor not long after that, in 1986.
I think that was a mistake, but anyway.
Yeah, it didn't work out anyway.
No, no. They
Right.
should have asked me. I would have told me it was going to
Well,
work
you know,
out. That
people
was
should
crazy.
consult you before they
That's
do such
right.
things.
Yes, you tell them, Gary.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And it's very much like the setup of a mayor and city council, and I try to put it in terms that people can understand in the local communities, whereas the county executive, currently the very capable Warren Evans, is our Wayne County executive. He's kind of like the mayor of the county, for lack of a better comparison. And the Wayne County Commission is like a city council.
For the county.
Yeah, and but we're co-equal branches, and so we have a great deal of responsibility on the Wayne County Commission to take a look into all of the contracts and all of the projects and ordinances, and we have to approve the budget. The state vests upon the county's legislative branch the responsibility of approving any budgets. So that's our primary function. And plus, I think one of the most important functions of a Wayne County Commissioner is to provide constituent service. When people need to cut through the red tape at Wayne County, you have a representative that you should be able to call, and they should be able to answer your questions for you, or get through to the departments that maybe you can't for whatever reason. Each of us as county commissioners are your representatives in the government.
So you're saying that the citizens should have access to their commissioners when they need assistance.
That's right. And everybody should know who their commissioner is, but if not, you can go to waynecounty.com and look under commission, and it will show you for wherever you live who your commissioner is.
Now, for those who may not have access, can they call 224-5525 and ask?
Absolutely can, yes.
That's the county clerk's number, 224-5525, for those who don't have access to computer.
Okay.
Now, the road situation that we have, some of the roads in the city of Detroit are controlled by the county.
Yes.
Some of them are controlled by the city, and some of them are controlled by the state. And, well, of course, freeways when you talk about I-94. And I always look at anyone that's controlled by the federal government, the signs are red, white, and blue.
It's all a matter of ownership as much as control. The county owns 1,400 miles of roadway within Wayne County.
Oh, but anyway, okay.
1,400 miles. And then
Whoa.
you're right, sometimes there are city roads, and of course there are state roads. And it's not just the highways. Michigan Avenue is a state highway, state road. What makes it more confusing is the state contracts with the county to do general maintenance of those roads, like snow plowing and pothole patching. But as far as major road repairs on like Michigan Avenue or state roads, the state has to contract out for those.
Oh, wow.
But as everybody knows, this past winter was the worst that I remember, and I'm not a young man. I've been around a lot of years, and I've never driven on roads so bad.
Oh, yes.
We
yes.
have let our infrastructure go for so long. They talk about the weather in Michigan. That's all well and good, but the reason, I mean, if you have better roads that are more frequently repaved and rebuilt, then you're not going to have the situation that we had this past winter. And what we witnessed was that the roads were in such bad shape to begin with that when we had this ridiculous freeze and thaw cycle over and over, and a lot of rain. I think February was like the second rainiest February ever. That water got underneath those holes, and it just kept popping them up. And the county, quite frankly, could not keep up with them. Nobody could keep up with, if you have one pothole per mile, and we know we had more than that, and you think about the county having 1,400 miles of roadways to maintain, not to mention the state highways. You had hundreds upon hundreds of potholes all erupting at once, so the county wasn't able to get to them all. And I've never known a winter where more people have showed me their bills for their tire repairs and their bent rims. And in a way, it's a good wake-up call that, oh, you got a call? Oh, it is?
You know, now people should know by now that I'm on the air at 9 from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
All right.
on Monday morning. It's the Hood Research Show on WHPR. Anyway.
Well, I'm not sure exactly where I left off, but this was a very expensive time for motorists, and we have to invest more in our roads, and that comes from the state. The state needs to do a better job of distributing the roads money on a more equitable basis. People don't realize, they might know a little more now because there was so much focus on the roads in the winter.
Right.
People might understand more now that because of a very old law, Public Act 51, which was actually enacted in 1951, road funding from gasoline taxes and the and car registrations and such, that's distributed in a formula that is ridiculously weighted against cities like Detroit and Wayne County, because the funds are distributed per road mile, not per lane mile. So a 2-lane highway up north that has very little traffic and only the occasional deer crossing the road gets the same formula funding that a freeway here in Detroit that might be 6 lanes and has all kinds of traffic and heavy trucks.
What?
It's been like that for a long time, and it's been overlooked until we had a season like we just had.
Okay.
And that will call attention to it. Now the problem is the legislators outstate that get that better formula sharing aren't really anxious to give it up, even though they know, everybody can recognize that it's inequitable. But but I think that legislators from our area need to find something that they want up north, and then use some negotiating in order to get more equitable road funding. People aren't going to be that very anxious to pay more in gasoline taxes or car registrations. The legislature just did that in 2015, and they did it inadequately, by the way. But nonetheless, so our first step should be to try for a more equitable distribution to southeast Michigan.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Can it be changed through a vote of the people?
There could be an initiative if enough people were aware and willing to get a petition drive together. Just like unfortunately the prevailing wage law was repealed last week by the legislature, who can't for some reason stand for people making a decent living. But that was done through the same method. You get petition signatures, enough of them, and you send it to the legislature, and the legislature has the option of either voting on it or putting it on the ballot. So there is a way that if we had enough interest, we could get a petition drive to try to change the Public Act 51. But I think it would be more effective easier to do it in the legislature.
Yeah, if they would do it.
If they would take it up. Correct.
Right. Now, wait. Tell us about the repeal of
the prevailing wage.
Yeah.
Well, it was very contentious in the state legislature last week. Petitions had been submitted to repeal the prevailing wage law that we had for a long time, which simply says that if a project is going to be paid for with tax dollars, then whatever the local prevailing wage is, in many cases union wages, should be paid to the people who are doing that construction work. And it's a system that wasn't hurting anybody. It was helping people make a decent living, and it also protected consumers and residents, because you have more skilled and experienced people doing the labor. So the Republicans in Lansing have been for a long time wanting to repeal prevailing wage. They've not been able to be successful, because in the end, even some of those Republicans up in Lansing know that they would have to answer to their constituents if they were to do that. But once the petition drive produced enough signatures, then the legislature had the option of either voting on it or putting it on the ballot. They wanted to vote on it because they wanted to get rid of it, but they also thought that if it went to the ballot, that the people of Michigan, who still have a good heart and a good soul, would probably not repeal prevailing wage. So that's why they did it. It was very controversial last week, but
Well,
we have that happen every now and then.
well, our viewers needed to know about all of that.
Yes.
Now, tell us about your plan at this time.
Okay, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity. I'm, after being a state representative for 6 years and a Wayne County Commissioner for 14 years, and chair of the commission for 8 years, I have opted to not run for re-election to the Wayne County Commission, and that's my choice. There are no term limits with the Wayne County Commission. But the state Senate seat that is currently held by Senator Morris Hood, who I served with when I was in the legislature, Morris Hood is term limited, and so he cannot run for the Senate any longer. So I am a candidate for the state Senate in District Number 3, which includes a significant portion of the west side of Detroit, the entire city of Dearborn, and the city of Melvindale. So I am going to be leaving the Wayne County Commission at the end of the year, one way or another. But currently, I'm campaigning for the state Senate for the seat that Morris Hood is leaving, and that election, as you know, is coming up very quickly. I think it's 8 weeks away, and I like to stress wherever I go that people need to pay more attention to the primary elections, because that's where these decisions on a lot of these offices are made. If you wait till November, it's kind of the decision's already been made. So if you want to have your voice heard, you've got to come out and vote in the summer elections, August 7th this year. Plus, there's also a ballot proposal for the smart millage renewal that will be on the ballot as well. So, you know, whether you want to renew the smart millage or you don't, your voice won't be heard if you don't come out to vote on August the 7th. So.
Okay, we have some callers on the line
All right.
who may have some questions.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Thomas, Comcast 91.
Your
Can you hear
name?
me?
Yes.
Thomas.
Thanks for calling, Thomas. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks for this information on the Wayne County government. You know, for me at least, and I think a lot of others, we knew a lot about city government, and then we kind of skipped Wayne County government, went to state government. But this is informative to hear some things about Wayne County government. Admittedly, I'll be honest, it seems like it's been a kind of a quiet group. That being said, I want to ask the commissioner there, why in the world would the Wayne County Commission give a kind of a carte blanche to developer, billionaire, whatever else he is, Dan Gilbert, to let me just be more specific. Did you, Commissioner, support Dan Gilbert deal and scraping a lot of those Wayne County institutions from downtown and moving them to this big field at 75 and Warren. And secondly, does this mean also that the Coleman Young Municipal Center, which houses a lot of Wayne County offices, may be next? That's my questions.
Okay, thank you for your questions and thank you for your call. First of all, I'll answer your second question first. There are no plans whatsoever that I'm possibly aware of that would move the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center from its current location, nor should they be. That's where so much of government is based and needs to be in the heart of downtown. I appreciate you bringing up the jail project because it's one that I've been living with for many years. And
I don't support jails, though, but if we need them, whatever.
I don't know that I caught all of that, but
What did you say? Say it
I
again,
said I don't
Thomas.
support the construction of jails, but I understand the ones that are here are deplorable.
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out because this project has a long history, and the reason it all began with the project that ultimately failed at Gratiot and I-375 was that, as you point out, Wayne County has multiple jails that they were running in separate locations. There's one in Hamtramck and two downtown. One of the downtown jails was put into service in, I think, 1929. So it's a very broken down building. And in fact, Wayne County has been under a consent agreement with the federal government for many years, decades in fact, because of the need to monitor the conditions, in the jail. So when we originally conceived of this project, the one that went awry, the idea was to close the old jails that were in desperate need of expensive repair and have one consolidated jail, and that's why it's called the Wayne County Consolidated Jail Project. This was absolutely necessary, not only for the operational efficiencies that would save millions and millions of dollars and hopefully pay for the bonds and the debt service, but also the conditions are unsafe not only for the inmates at the Wayne County jails, but also the deputies who work there. Having one central jail is going to allow operating efficiencies to make things better and safer for all concerned. So a lot of debate has been had about jails in general. No one should think that we're building a new jail in addition to the old jails. We're not expanding the incarceration space in Wayne County. We're combining it and making it more efficient. Nobody wants to have to build new jails and add new beds in order to lock more people up. That is not the point. But state law, and I have researched this because I wanted to make sure I know what I'm talking about. State law requires each county in the state of Michigan to provide a jail. So we don't have a lot of choice in the matter, and it's always been the case. Now we can debate the location of the jail, and I will say that a year ago, certainly a year and a half ago, both Warren Evans, our county executive, and myself would have never thought that we would wind up doing this, moving the jail from the Gratiot site over to Warren and I-75.
We're also moving the Wayne County Youth Home and some Wayne County courts, right?
Correct, yes. The Frank Murphy Hall of Justice will also be moved, and if we were going to move the jail off-site because of transportation costs, it was required that we have the courthouse right next to it. And you're right, the juvenile detention facilities are there too, and there will also be administrative offices for the Wayne County prosecutor and for the Wayne County sheriff in the new facility. The Frank Murphy Hall of Justice was the subject of a lawsuit that the circuit court filed against the county several years ago, and as part of that settlement, Wayne County is required to build a new criminal courthouse at some point anyway. So whether it was there or whether we had to knock down Frank Murphy and build a new one there or build it elsewhere, that was also going to be a big expense. So the bottom line reason for the way the project turned out was that it in the minds of Wayne County government, including the county executive and majority of the Wayne County Commission, it is the best possible deal under all circumstances for the taxpayers of Wayne County and for the region. There was a time.
And nobody wants to look at a jail from the Greektown Hotel looking out the window, I guess.
Which is interesting too, because when we broke ground on that project in 2011, originally nobody said a word about the location. Nobody complained, and that shows you how much Dan Gilbert and his companies have moved into downtown. Because when we started the project, everybody was just happy that there was going to be construction jobs, and that we were doing something to stimulate the economy down there. But then the face of downtown, the buildings, the businesses have changed. So there became pressure from different corners to move off of that site anyway. The state of Michigan at one point wanted us to take over a closed state prison on Mound Road, and I resisted that entirely because we didn't want to move. I didn't want to move so far out of downtown. State prisons cannot be easily converted to jails. They are two different things. But also, there are no bus routes to Mound Road, and you have to consider multiple factors when you're locating facilities like this. And most importantly, is jury accessibility. We have a hard time in Wayne County getting people to come to jury duty anyway. We can't limit their transportation options. And so on. So I know.
Well, Warren and 75 is only one bus line. That's the Warren bus.
It's been brought to my attention, and we need to before this facility opens, which will be in 4 years, we need to ensure that there is better access for people who would go there. The advantage of this location, as opposed to the Mound Road location, was that, as you know, the Criminal Justice Center is an economic engine into itself because it brings people into downtown to work, and the courts, the lawyers, the law offices are all near there. If we would have built on Mound Road, I think you would have seen a lot of our law firms move out of downtown, and they wouldn't stop at Mound Road. They would go into Macomb County, and they'd still be close enough to that prison. So I think that would have been a disservice to downtown as well. It was a complicated project, and I understand that there are any number of points we can debate about it, but in the end, we believe that it was in the overall greater good, and I'm frankly glad that it's on its way. The Wayne County Commission approved the final agreement last week with a 14-to-1 vote, and we had extensive meetings, including hearing from people in the neighborhood who naturally aren't going to be happy, but our Commissioner Jewel Ware put forth a resolution urging the administration to follow the recommendations of a traffic study. Now we want to work with the neighborhood to make sure that the traffic impacts aren't a big problem for them. So our work won't be done, but the project will be underway. And I guess from an optics standpoint, a lot of people will be happy to see within the next few weeks that ugly half-built jail starting to come down. So when we turn the corner on 375 to head into the heart of downtown, we don't see that monument to inefficiency anymore. I'm glad for that. So does that answer?
Leo, can I ask one more question?
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
a short one.
Is anybody being sued for that jail project? I heard the county lost tens and tens of millions of dollars.
There were lawsuits filed back and forth between the county and the contractors. They've been settled. The county, I'm going to put pen to paper and I'm going to figure it all out. And the county probably is a little behind on it, but in the end, we're getting a complex worth $530 million, with the county's portion being $380 million, and the Gilbert organization not only covering the rest, but any overruns, which gives us a little extra security. So there were lawsuits, but I think they're all behind us now.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you for your
You're
call.
welcome. Thank you for calling. You know, two things I wanted to ask about. One, while we're on the construction and the sales of property and relocating, etc., who gets possession of the valuable, how do you call let me describe it. If you go into the courts or the conference rooms, you have some very expensive tables, wood, windows, throughout. I thought about it because when Mackenzie High School was torn down, they had all kinds of valuable marble and etc. And some company came in. I think this three-story school building, took out windows and frames. These are not scavengers. You can't do that.
Right.
You have to have equipment to be able to take out windows with the frames, similar to the lions that disappeared on 14th and West Grand Boulevard. They turned up in Chicago. You know, on the top of that Plaza apartment building.
Oh, yeah.
There were stone lions on the corner, So this was not local hood criminals who did either of those. So with these buildings being sold legitimately, so now they have thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of building.
And what will happen to it after we're no longer there? That's an excellent question. I guess.
So that's not in the contract.
I'll have to ask to see if there's if they're going to use any of the furniture in the new facility or not. It's a very good question. I will ask that. Here's what's going to happen with the facilities now, including the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. The Gilbert organization, Rock Ventures, is taking possession of them immediately. They will own them immediately, but as part of the deal, they will lease them back to Wayne County for $1 a year or something, so that Wayne County can continue to operate
for 4 years.
Until they transition into a new facility. It gives us plenty of time to address the concern that you just raised about whether any of the materials or the furniture is going to be salvaged. I don't recall anything in the agreement that says that the Gilbert organization gets the buildings and the furniture. So I don't believe that that's the case, but it's a good question.
Yeah, as far as real estate is concerned, things that are fixed, like if there's carpet on the floor or if there are light fixtures in the ceiling or the wall, that is part of the real estate.
Right.
But the furniture and all of those kinds of things, chairs, etc., are not part of the real estate.
I've got a question for you. Actually, I'd like to read this article and ask you what your opinion is on it.
All right.
It's based on Wayne County. It's based on commissioner wages. It states the wages of county commissioners will be targeted and reduced under a bill introduced last week by State Representative Martin Howrelak, a Republican of Troy. It's approaching $40,000 a year. It includes health insurance in Oakland County and the job of county commissioner. It doesn't require much, he said, noting the positions are generally part-time jobs. I don't really think there's a benefit to what we're paying them. The pay for Wayne County commissioner is more than $60,000 a year, plus benefits is considerably higher than Oakland County, he said, and there are just things we can't afford. Macomb County, he mentions that their commissioners receive $35,000 a year. Now, under his bill, the county's compensation commission would be limited to paying county commissioners no more than 25% of the base pay of state legislators who get paid $71,685 a year. That would mean that commissioners' pay couldn't exceed $17,921 a year. So I just want to ask you, first, are you familiar with that, and then what is your feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I saw that as well. The Free Press does a roundup of bills that were introduced in the previous week, and they'll put usually as the headline bill the most outrageous or the most attention-grabbing. So I saw that as well. I think it's very interesting when members of the state legislature start talking about how hard people work and the hours they put in. I suggest that state legislators should take care that their own activities aren't so scrutinized. And I doubt that legislation will ever be taken up committee, but it made for a good headline. The Wayne County Commission, it does get paid more than any other county commissioners in the state. We
It's
have
larger, right?
well, the 15 of us have to produce a budget of $1.5 billion and oversee that. I'll say this about commissioner pay. It was set well before I arrived by ordinance that said that the county executive will be paid a certain percentage of the governor's pay, and county commissioners will be paid a certain percentage of the county executive's pay. That was in around 2000, 2001, the last time that pay went up. And the pay went down 10% during the recession. We took a voluntary pay cut of 10% a year and a quarter before it had to actually kick in. So in all the time I've been on the Wayne County Commission, the pay hasn't gone up a penny, and in fact it's gone down 10%, and that probably will never be restored. So first, to dispel any notion that Wayne County Commissioners are getting raises every year or something. In fact, the pay has done nothing but stay level or go down. And I don't know why legislators occasionally get this notion when he says that we can't afford it. If you cut every Wayne County Commissioner's pay by $50,000, so what's 15 times 50 in a $1.5 billion budget? It really doesn't have much budget impact either. But I did see that, having been a state legislator, I know that when you're in a position like city council or county commission or state legislator, each individual puts in the time that they're going to put in. So when you're voting for somebody, you need to have confidence that they're going to be in that position and doing the work. I like to say, I learned, and I didn't make this up, but Ray Wojtowicz, our former and retired county treasurer of many years, told me what he always tells people is he was county treasurer 24 hours a day. And I'm a Wayne County Commissioner 24 hours a day, and I assure you that I'm chair of the Wayne County Commission 24 hours a day, because all of the dealings with the administration and individual commissioners and the good people of Wayne County do not have office hours. So, but I did see that. That was an interesting bit of legislation that was put in. I don't know if I answered your question or anything.
Well, yes, because knowing that you guys will be affected, that's
Right.
sponsored, prompted my curiosity.
Right.
Now, I'm also wondering, when you mentioned your relationship with Warren Evans, saying that
Yes.
the commission and the executive are co-equal branches, so
Correct.
do they function in the same way as having veto power over a decision that he would make, and then what would constitute, I guess, a majority if indeed there was something he proposed that the commissioners thought was not in the interest of their communities, districts?
Well, the county commissioners have to approve most of what goes through goes from the administration, and we generally do. But the way the charter is set up is to allow the administration to be the chief executive to do the day-to-day administration. So there's a lot of things that the Wayne County Commission doesn't have oversight in. But if the county executive proposes an ordinance or something and asks the commission to approve it, it's up to the commission to approve it. If the commission passes something that the county executive disagrees with, the county executive has veto power. But then the Wayne County Commission then can override that veto with a 2/3 majority, which is 10 out of the 15 members. So there are checks and balances built in pretty nicely to this charter. I firmly believe this about, I've only served in legislative branches in the state house and on the county commission, and with any good fortune, hopefully I will be elected to the state senate. I believe that the legislative branch is probably the most important branch because it is the direct representative of the people.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I answer to the 130,000 people in my district who elected me. They need to be my first concern. So when we do our actions, we are actually speaking on behalf of the people. The county executive, by definition, is the chief executive, and is supposed to make decisions based on, the most efficient ways for running the county. But I have a political science degree, and from way back, and I've been a student of government for a long time, and I really have a high regard for the government that we've created in this country, that and the way we have it similarly structured in our cities and counties, because it's really very efficient and has a lot of checks and balances. They're being tested right now in the federal government.
Yeah,
but
yes.
but I'm rooting for our system of government. The people who wrote the Constitution, the people who set up our government, they were pretty brilliant people, and I have a high respect for that. And I have a high respect for the role of the Wayne County Commission as a legislative branch representing the people of Wayne County.
You have another question?
Well, yes. One of the things I wondered about also is, like, we always hear about redistricting. Does the redistricting ever come up in terms of Wayne County?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and then who is responsible for, like, determining the lines, the boundaries, et cetera?
Every 10 years, just like in the state of Michigan, and even in the Congress of the United States, a census is taken, and then the lines are redrawn so that each district has approximately the same number of people in it. And that can change based on where the people are living. In the last census, there had been a shift of some population from the city of Detroit that had fallen, and western Wayne County, the far western part of Wayne County, the Plymouth and Canton areas, had grown. So the Wayne County Commission boundaries had to be redrawn to reflect that. And in fact, my friend, Commissioner Bernard Parker, pretty much found himself without a seat to run in the city of Detroit because the population had shifted. Now, who is responsible for that? I wish I had my handbook in front of me. I believe there's a panel that's set up. I'm going to say maybe the county clerk, maybe one of the judges, that ultimately will approve lines that are redrawn, but the actual work is done by companies that they hire to analyze the population and where it's shifted. But it absolutely happens in Wayne County, just like it happens throughout the state of Michigan. These lines shift every 10 years. Going back to the state Senate districts, there was a time when all of the Detroit Senate seats were entirely within the city of Detroit.
Right.
Well, after the 2000 census, Detroit had suffered so much population loss that there was a possibility that that there would be one fewer Senate seats in Detroit. So when they redrew the lines, that's when they first took portions of Detroit and then they matched them with portions of the suburbs. The third district, when it was redrawn in 2001, included a sizable portion of Detroit, Dearborn, and the city of River Rouge. Now, instead of River Rouge, in the last census it was changed to Melvindale. But that's when that happened because of the population shifting. And we have a very important census coming up shortly, and we will have another realignment of the district lines. So you don't know what the districts are going to look like.
Right.
The ones that we're in now may change entirely after that next census.
So right now, what are your boundaries?
Oh, on the Wayne County Commission?
No, for the Senate.
Oh, for the
seat.
state Senate?
Senate seat.
All of the city of Dearborn, all of the city of Melvindale, which is relatively small, and then a portion of the city of Detroit. As I try to explain it to people, first of all, it's the Warrendale neighborhood. It extends to Barton McFarland, extends up to Castle Rouge, does not extend into Rosedale Park. but when I explain it to people, it goes north from Dearborn along roughly Telegraph and Livernois up to 6 Mile, where then it kind of moves into the middle to Evergreen and Greenfield, and it kind of dips down to Plymouth Road. So, you know how they draw these lines.
Yes.
And I really hope that the redistricting proposal that's going to be on the ballot gets some serious consideration by voters, because there's no more detrimental process right now to our government, except with the possible exceptions of lousy term limits, than the way we draw the district lines. There's never a more partisan process in drawing those lines, and technology and data have made it so precise that they can cut down a block, they can cross the street to make sure that they have the districts packed like they want. So
with
that's
more
a very,
Republicans.
yeah. Well, you look at it, we're a 50-50 state, but our congressional delegation is heavily weighted Republicans.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my last question, we've got perhaps about 5 minutes left. What is your vision for the position that you're running for, and what would you like to see happen or accomplish in that position?
Well, my key issues are infrastructure and roads, which was really demonstrated this past winter. Public education clearly is in trouble throughout the entire state. One of the glimmers of hope that I saw was when I was at the Mackinac Island Policy Conference, was when Dr. Nikolai Beatty was on a panel presenting about Detroit schools. He was brutally honest, and that may be the first step to helping in Detroit schools. One thing that I really think I bring to the state Senate, term limits have really hurt our government, draining our experience. The state Senate has 38 members. 27 of them have to leave at the end of the year. 26 by term limits, and Senator Ian Conyers is running for Congress. The Senate is losing 2/3 of its experience, and the Senate is supposed to be the deliberation body. It's supposed to be where stuff takes its time and experienced people work things through. I think that I bring experience that will not only bring knowledge, but some level-headedness and maybe find some solutions to our problems. I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Excellent answer.
Thank you.
Now, one thing I want to say, you mentioned infrastructure. Well, the University of Michigan, as well as I think it's Massachusetts, I believe, have a product that is sturdier than the crap they're putting in the potholes and on the roads now. Have you gotten any information on that?
I've heard about it.
Okay, well, that would be one recommendation of mine, because as it happens now, I-94 has been under construction for the past 40 or 50 years.
Yes.
It
Never ends.
I know it. Right. They just move from one, on and on. They start all over again.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can understand a company wanting to keep his folks working to keep profit coming. But when it's tearing up so many tires and rims, et cetera, causing accidents, something needs to be done. That's just, they need to go someplace else to work, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I would just like to, recommend that.
Thank you.
And the other thing is the insurance. Have you looked into the
Absolutely.
Insurance? Why the insurance is
Absolutely.
a lot higher in Detroit?
If the legislature doesn't deal with it this term, it's going to be one of my top priorities in finding relief. It's just ridiculous throughout the state of Michigan that it's so high. They made an attempt this year to help lower rates, but it was a bad attempt. You can't address no-fault reform without addressing the discriminatory policies of redlining, zip codes, credit scores, and they just wanted to make cheaper insurance available so people who don't have money can buy lousy insurance, and we can do better than that.
And that has nothing to do with a good driver.
That's right.
But this ballot issue that's coming out about choice is a tricky word, and I say vote no, because it sounds like that reverse of this de-insurance thing that the mayor was trying to get the legislators to pass.
Right.
And now he has a trick on the ballot. So for Detroiters to be cut out of the unlimited amount of care in a catastrophic, with a catastrophic injury is wrong. It's just simply wrong.
We need to find a solution, but we need to find a collaborative solution and not try to bully our way through to just go one way or another. I'll credit the mayor for this. He recognizes that it's a problem. It's a detriment to people moving into the city of Detroit when car insurance rates are ridiculously high. So I applaud the fact that he's looking for solutions.
That's the only reason he's looking for solutions, because of people moving into the city. He doesn't want them to turn around and move out. But why don't they just cancel it? Before that began, we had a choice of insuring our vehicles or not insuring them, a personal choice, and now they got this mandatory insurance.
Right.
Anyway, I'm down to 1 minute. I want to say thank you very much, Gary Warnchek, for joining us this morning.
It's been my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Contact information for getting to contact.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Gary for Senate with the number 4.com. GaryForSenate.com. Oh, man, I wish I knew my office number off the top of my head. My office number at Wayne County is 313-224-0934. If you don't know who your Wayne County Commissioner is, give me a call. If Morris Hood is your current state senator, if you're in the 3rd Senate District, Morris can't be there anymore. I'll be on the ballot. I'd appreciate your consideration, and I thank you for letting me be here.
Oh, you're welcome. And as I say at the end of our program, it's not necessary for you to know everything. What is necessary is for you to know how to find what you need when you need it. And we at Hood Research seek out as much information as we can to share with you to help us all make better informed decisions.
As I always say, if you want to be nothing, do nothing. But the only problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished.
All right.
Oh, I like that.
Thanks for tuning again. Tune in again next week. And
now stay tuned for Get in the Know with Marley B.